Well, for more on these military advisors and their role in Iraq, we're joined by James Bezan. He's the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Defense, and he joins us from Bezan, Manitoba. So, James, you just heard Paul Dewar saying there he was surprised by the announcement, saying the local Iraqi government didn't ask for military assistance from Canada and doesn't need it. What's your response? Why send troops now?
Well, definitely there was a need and there was a request, and this was something I discussed in Wales at the NATO summit, where leaders talked about putting together a collaborative effort in providing the military advice and leadership to the Iraqi security forces in fighting against this very brutal terrorist organization that has massacred, as you've already pointed out, ethnic and religious minorities in such a disgusting way. So we are sending several dozen of our military leaders from the Special Operations Force, and they will be on the ground and will be helping direct and plan the military interventions that are going to be needed to push ISIS back and allowed to liberate more of these ethnic minorities who have been persecuted by the ISIS group. So, you know, if we want to deliver the humanitarian aid, which we are, and Minister Parity just announced last week another $5 million in excess, in addition to the money that's already there, to a total of over $21 million to help with displaced people that are living as refugees, to help those that have been persecuted, particularly in the north. We have to have control on the ground to get those humanitarian aid into their hands and to allow more people to access humanitarian aid, not just from Canada, but from all the coalition partners who are providing that assistance.
James, clearly this is an evolving situation, but Canada wasn't involved in the Iraq mission back in 2003, and a lot of people are raising concerns about Canada taking on a more active military role. Is that a possibility?
This is only a 30-day deployment. We have a situation on the ground that is something that we have expertise in. If you go back to how we had to deal with the Taliban back in Afghanistan. And so our security forces, our military leaders will be there to provide information on counterinsurgency and how you deal with these types of terrorist militia units. And so it is important that we have a role to play here, because this is not just an internal conflict here with ISIS. This has the ability to spill over, not even within the Middle East, but we know that they're talking about coming out to the West. And so that is important that we are involved to keep this group contained and hopefully defeated, so that the Iraqi government can then get back to governing and hopefully govern for all Iraqis and not just one sector.
James, you mentioned expertise. Could you give us a bit more detail? What exactly will these military advisors be doing?
So they're going to be stationed in northern Iraq. So there's a number of coalition partners that are at play, and we're all there as part of the U.S.-led coalition through NATO. But they are going to be still reporting back to the Chief of Defense Staff here in Canada. They'll be on the ground working alongside with Iraqi security forces and providing intelligence and military planning so that they can make the correct moves in countering the aggression that they're seeing from ISIS.
You mentioned this is a 30-day deployment. How would Canadians know if it's mission accomplished there?
Well, in 30 days, we will review the situation. As you know, next week, the Standing Committee of Foreign Affairs and International Development in the House of Commons will be having a special meeting to meet with Minister Baird, Minister Nicholson, as well as the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lawson, to discuss the situation and how we really mark out the parameters on moving forward. Of course, the House of Commons starts sitting again on the 15th of September, at which time I suspect that there will be more updates and debates in the House of Commons to continue to get briefed and informed on how we're doing and how our coalition partners are doing with the Iraqi security forces in defeating this terrorist threat.
James, I want to thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Hey, no, pleasure to be there, Christine.
That's James Bezan, the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Defense. He's in Bezan, Manitoba.